Yep, Dreamworks took a page out of the Disney book of cash grabs and decided to make a live-action remake of one of their own animated classics. But unlike Disney, at least Universal brought on the original director from the animated How to Train Your Dragon films to direct this one. I mean, there's no one who knows these movies better than him, right? It's classic versus cash-grabbing remake. Will Dreamworks go the way of Disney, or will they actually surprise us and make a great live-action remake? We're about to find out. Let the battle commence. Now, there was a lot of speculation as to what kind of remake How to Train Your Dragon was going to be, and after seeing it, I can tell you that it is the shot-for-shot kind. But in spite of that, it somehow ended up being 30 minutes longer than the original, and that's because they extend some scenes from the cartoon. Scenes with Stoic talking to Hiccup are extended, there are some extended scenes with Gobber, and so on and so forth. But in general, the remake actually maintains the story of the original film, and I'd be lying if I said I was surprised, but it's shot much better than the Disney live-action remakes, and that is something that I immediately noticed. This feels much more competently made, and like there is more care put into the directing. Pacing is not rushed and all over the place, the extended scenes are incorporated in ways that make sense, and we end up with a movie that doesn't insult the original. Even the casting is so much better than what Disney have done, with some ridiculous controversies which we will get to shortly. But on the whole, I was impressed with the production of the film, and it wasn't constantly on my mind like the Disney remakes. And they keep all of the main set pieces and iconic scenes, and don't cut them out or do a disservice to them like Disney have done. That being said, when compared to the original How to Train Your Dragon, I thought the remake completely lacked any kind of impact. The pacing for the original movie had this zip to it, and a quick-wittedness that really propelled the movie forward in a way that there was never a dull or boring moment. But in the remake, it doesn't rush through the scenes, but it slows everything down. And I do mean everything. The whole opening sequence, for example, it was accurate to the original, but the whole time, it lacked the high-octane and adrenaline-filled pacing, and there was no sense of impact when these big events started happening. The same for when Hiccup shoots down Toothless, the Vikings attacking the dragons didn't feel as exciting and epic as it did in the animated film, even the action felt slower. The pacing when they tell jokes is also really slow and doesn't have that quick and snappy comedic wit to it like the original.
It's like the size of my... Oh, get it off! It's like the size of my...
The slower pacing even affected the training montage. Hiccup winning against the dragons during practice was both hilarious and exciting in the original movie, but it was just dull in its execution in the remake. It was much slower paced and kept stopping and starting, whereas in the original, it was fast paced and each new dragon defeat and technique was so impactful and rewarding. But that same rewarding feeling was just not here in the remake, and it really comes down to pacing. The first How to Train Your Dragon really knew how to pace its story. The remake does not, and that really surprises me, because one of the directors of the original movie, Dean DeBlau, who went on to direct the sequels, is the one directing this remake. You'd think that he of all people would understand the pacing of his own movie, but maybe his co-director Chris Sanders, who he also directed Lilo and Stitch with, had a much bigger impact on the original movie than we thought. The pacing of the story in the animated film was so perfect. Each scene led to the next, and they were all the perfect length. But the remake just gets the pacing all wrong, and doesn't communicate the same level of character and expression that the original film did in a much shorter amount of time. Even the pacing of the scene when Stoic congratulates Hiccup after his return was all butchered with its pacing, and as a result, it was not as funny as it was meant to be.
What a feeling! You really had me going there, son. All those years of the worst Viking Burke has ever seen. Odin, it was rough. I almost gave up on you. And all the while, you were holding out on me. Oh, Thor Almighty! You really had me going there, son. All those years of the worst Viking Burke has ever seen. Odin, it was rough. I almost gave up on you. And all the while, you were holding out on me. Oh.
And when big things do start happening, such as Astrid seeing Toothless for the first time, the Red Death reveal, or Stoic finding out that Hiccup has been lying to him, the intensity of these scenes is not here like it was in the animated film, and neither is the emotion. And as for the extended scenes, they aren't bad, and none of them were cringy like Disney's editions.
We have jams.
Jam?
Jams? Yes, jams. Yam jams, fig jams, seedless, delicious, exotic jams.
Move away from the jams.
What?
But even so, the extended scenes feel extended in the way that the scenes in The Hobbit were extended. They are not necessary, and if you cut them out, the movie would have flowed a lot better. Whereas the story for the first movie was a perfect length and pace, the story for the remake felt overly long and slow, to the point that my mind started to wander during some scenes that I had no problem watching in the original. So the remake didn't fail here as bad as other live-action remakes to beloved animated films, but the fact remains, it didn't understand the tight pacing of the original. The animated movie had no fat to trim. The remake, on the other hand, does. And it doesn't tell its story anywhere near as effectively as the original movie did. So the movie with the superior story and pacing is the animated movie. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, please do give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button and the bell right next to it so you will stay up to date with all of my future Versus videos. And if you want to support the channel further, then please do consider supporting me on Patreon for trailer reactions, early access, and also gain access to my private Discord. So, back to the video. Now, the true romance in How to Train Your Dragon is the bromance between Hiccup and Toothless.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Where do you think you're going?
Hiccup is introduced very much as this outcast who doesn't match the conventional idea of what a Viking is supposed to be. Even when he really tries, it just doesn't feel right to him.
I'm gonna kill you, dragon. I'm gonna cut out your heart and take it to my father. I'm a Viking. I am a Viking!
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be.
And the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless is so beautifully done. The movie has an ingenious idea that Toothless cannot fly independently as Hiccup shot him down and damaged his tail. So the only way for him to fly is with Hiccup at the wheel. And this gives both of them a challenging journey where they have to learn how to function as a team. And through this, the two develop a very heartwarming friendship, and it just gets stronger and stronger as the movie goes on, and seeing how cold and distant their relationship was at the beginning to how close the two become by the film's climax was just so nice and an absolute joy to watch. And that is the heart of this movie. And in the remake, they tried, but it didn't work. I just didn't feel the closeness between the two. Now, I liked Mason Thames, who plays Hiccup. Even back when I did my trailer reactions on Patreon, I said that he was very well cast. So he's not completely the problem. The real issue here is Toothless. Toothless looked the part, and the CGI for him was generally good. But that being said, he was a very stiff-looking CGI effect. Despite being CG like the animated film, Toothless is far less expressive in this movie. All the little moments of facial expressions and body language are missing from the remake. And that not only deprives Toothless of character, but it also deprives him and Hiccup of the friendship that grows between them. Little expressive moments such as Toothless taking an interest in what Hiccup is doing, or when he looks to see if Hiccup is still there, or when he dopily walks away from Hiccup or deliberately scares Astrid, there was just so much character to Toothless during these moments, and it made him very funny and added to his charm and likability. And these facial expressions and body language moments are not here with live action Toothless. I mean, they're here, but Toothless's body language and animation is so much more stilted. Heck, even little scenes like this are completely cut from the remake.
That's my fault. Yeah, I'm on it. Position 4.
My fault! My fault! Yeah, I'm on it. Position 5.
And these lack of details really start to pile up after a while. Even the joy that Toothless usually shows is not as strongly represented here. And by the time we get to the point when Toothless saves Hiccup in the arena, I didn't feel the strong bond between them like I did in the same scene in the animated movie. The chemistry between them is just not there. At least, not to the full extent that it needs to be. And I didn't even feel like we, the audience, got to know Toothless like we did in the animated version. He really lacked the same high quality development. In the animated movie, they kept the camera on him so you could see him react and be in the moment with him. And there were plenty of scenes where the two would get slightly annoyed at each other. And that variety of interaction would add 3 dimensions to their friendship. And this really bonded us to their characters. But even moments like this aren't in the remake. Also, Hiccup is not as nerdy as he was in the animated movie. There was a contrast between him and the Vikings, but in the remake, I actually thought the Vikings were much more like losers than Hiccup was. Hiccup just looked less nerdy and more cool in the remake. And although Mason Thames has the look and the voice down, his mannerisms and personality is nowhere near as dorky as it should be. And that's what broke the illusion to me. With Hiccup in the animated movie, you take one look at him and you can tell why the village looks down on him. but in the remake, I didn't get the same vibe. If anything, I was surprised that the village didn't look down on his classmates. The scenes between Hiccup and Toothless are the best scenes in the remake, but even saying that, they just don't hold a candle to the animated movie. Just the way they're framed and paced and edited together is not as effective and genuine as it was in the animated film. And that made their relationship feel incomplete here. Everything the original movie wanted to do with their friendship was 100% accomplished, and seeing as their friendship is the heart of the movie, I walked away with absolutely zero complaints, whereas with the remake, I walked away wanting so much more. So the movie with superior Hiccup and Toothless is the animated film. Now, the young Vikings in the original were all kids, but they seemed somewhat capable of fighting dragons. But in the remake, they don't look capable at all, and it's weird, because in many ways, they are exactly the same in both versions. But in the original, they were at least active and had an energy to them whenever they were fighting dragons, and they do look bigger next to Hiccup. But in the remake, that energy and size just isn't there, and it doesn't help that they also come across as extra useless and stupid. And I think a big reason for that is because animation can get away with a lot, and it can make comic relief characters appear to be more, but in live action, it can't. They just end up looking ridiculous. And this inadvertently makes Hiccup look less wimpy when he's next to them. And I'm specifically referring to the first half of the movie where Hiccup hasn't found himself yet, and is supposed to be at his wimpiest. Also, the side characters are nowhere near as funny in the remake. This scene, for example, was so much funnier in the animated movie.
There!
Hey, it's us, idiots.
Your butts are getting bigger. We thought you were a dragon.
That was hilarious, but I guess that joke is considered too edgy or offensive now, so they went with a hideous heads joke instead.
Hey, it's us, geniuses.
Lightning reflexes. I see hideous heads. I strike. Whoa. Make that one hideous head, Astrid.
The look of shock on the characters' faces when Hiccup wins the challenges was also so minimal, especially from Astrid. Her reactions during these scenes were especially hilarious in the original movie, but in the remake, they were nothing. We also have Gerard Butler reprising his role as Stoic, which is great. And as fun as it is to see him do the voice in live action, the delivery and execution of his lines still suffer from the same issues as other actors in these live action remakes. All his lines had the perfect delivery in the original movie, but in the remake, so many of them just didn't sound like they had the same level of authority, comedy, or awkwardness that they did in the animated film. This scene in particular was hilarious in the original, and they completely changed the delivery of it in the remake, and it's just inferior in every way. The conversations between Stoic and Hiccup were so engrossing in the animated film, but in the remake, not only were they not as good, but one of them was actually putting me to sleep. We also have Nick Frost as Gobber, and he was fine, but surprisingly doesn't hold a candle to Craig Ferguson in the animated film. He has the look down, but not really the voice. And then we have Astrid. And we all know who Astrid is. She is the most skilled, up-and-coming young Viking, but that all starts to change when Hiccup gets more skilled as a dragon trainer. And the comedy here writes itself. I remember the first time I saw this, I laughed so hard and I could totally understand her frustration. But Hiccup was finally getting his big break. His father finally respected him, as did the village. And it was also fun to see his relationship with Toothless grow at the same time. So I couldn't help but love it. And Astrid's reactions never missed a beat.
I'm kinda late for
What? Late for what? Exactly.
Ah, what the?
And their romance was nicely handled as well, and very naturally implemented. Now, when I did my trailer reactions for the How to Train Your Dragon remake on my Patreon, I said that the actress they chose to play Astrid, Nico Parker, seemed like a pretty good choice, and I continued to be impressed with her with every new trailer. And then I saw the movie, and to my absolute surprise, I thought she was the worst actor in the entire film. First off, Astrid was very expressive in the animated movie.
That's for the lies. That's for everything else.
That's for the lies. And that's for everything else.
And this is what she is like throughout the majority of the movie. There were a couple of scenes where she was showing emotion, but she needed to show far more. In the opening, when Hiccup is narrating, they add some additional dialogue like,
Amazing, without even trying.
And then they do the cool explosion shot, or at least it was cool in the animated film. In the remake, there was no explosion and she didn't even look cool, she just looked bored. This actress must have known that she was reenacting this shot from the movie, so why did she go with this face? Now Mason Thames, he's trying to put in the Hiccup isms in his performance, but she's not. I never recognized any part of Astrid in her. Also, they make changes to her character in the first half of the movie, which honestly just made her come across as super toxic. One of the big changes is that she straight up says to Hiccup,
I've got my eye on that big house of yours. I'm gonna be chief one day.
And then when he politely and vulnerably says that he thinks she'll be great at being chief and that his dad would prefer it that way, you don't see any pity or a newfound understanding in her eyes. She just very coldly says,
Stay out of my way, Hiccup.
You are a mean girl! You're a bitch!
This change to Astrid made her a very unlikable character. The animated Astrid was determined, but she was never this cruel and cold. So for the first half of the remake, this is the new take on Astrid that we have. But then in the second half, when she goes on the flight with Hiccup, she suddenly becomes the Astrid from the animated movie, and she acts all whimsically entranced. And I was like, bullshit. This behavior does not fit this new version of the character. It fit the original, but not this one. And this abrupt shift back to the original character is so jarring, and it doesn't work. And then, just like the animated movie, they tried to make the two love interests, and whereas it was very natural in the original, it came out of nowhere in the remake. And not only did the two have no chemistry, but the movie made their relationship so hostile that you don't see why Hiccup would even be remotely interested in her, or why she would remotely be interested in him. She at least owes him an apology, but nope. This Astrid would change her mind. This one would turn on Hiccup and rat him out to his father just to get in his good graces and get Hiccup out.
I've got my eye on that big house of yours. I'm gonna be chief one day.
That's what this new version of the character would do. She wouldn't do this. So they make all these changes to her character and then try to give her the same trajectory as the animated Astrid. And that just made her character arc a huge mess in this movie and very unfocused. And when she does start saying Astrid's more polite and supportive lines in the latter half of the film, it feels so unnatural. And from a script level, they really failed her. Watching the two's relationship develop throughout the original movie was really good and it all tracked and made sense. And I'm sad to say, they failed the relationship between these two characters in the remake, which is strange as the actors do actually have chemistry in their interviews together.
I used to saying, gotta go my own way when I was younger, and me and my friends...
I've never even seen High School Musical. Oh my god.
Now, there is a ridiculous controversy with the actress that plays Astrid, and it's all to do with her hair. You see, Astrid was blonde in the original movie, and in the remake, she's not. And the controversy surrounding this has been overblown and is just ridiculous. And I am referring to the actress here. Actors dye their hair or wear wigs for roles all the time, and it has nothing to do with racism or bigotry. If a white actress was playing Astrid and was a brunette, people would have the same criticism. If Mason Thames had blonde hair, people would also have the same complaint. I mean, Kirsten Dunst back in 2001 was asked about the red hair for Mary Jane before they started shooting Spider-Man, and she said that she's going to wear a wig for the fans so that she can keep Mary Jane's iconic red hair. See? Nothing to it.
No, I guess not.
Actors even today change the color of their hair to portray certain roles, and some shave it off altogether. It's a perfectly normal thing. If you ask me, I bet Hollywood does this on purpose sometimes, because they know it's gonna upset some people, and maybe they want that kind of selective outrage to help advertise the movie. Listen, the accurate look of the characters matter, and it's clear that the people making the movie agree, because they do a phenomenal job of sticking to the original character designs for literally everyone else, but just not for Astrid. And people wanting her to look like her character is somehow offensive? Come on, give me a break. But either way, blonde wig or not, Astrid's whole character was a complete fail, and she doesn't hold a candle to the much more likable and coherently developed Astrid in the animated movie. So the movie with superior side characters is the animated film. I was going to do an action segment, but then I realized that there are only really 2 action sequences, one in the film's opening and the other in the climax. And the climactic battle was fine, but in spite of being a shot-for-shot remake, it lacked the grand scale, fast pace, humor, and overall epicness of the scene in the animated film. So the animated movie did its action much better, and the acting and sound mixing was not as impactful as it was in the original either. Now the flying sequences were good in the remake, and are definitely the highlights of the movie, but again, they were far better shot in animation, and I found the camera angles to be far more creative and immersive as well. Overall guys, this is another remake, and as far as remakes go, this is not the worst. Its execution is far better than the Disney remakes out there, and thankfully, it's no Lilo and Stitch. So it's definitely the most watchable, but the more it goes on, the more it falls apart. And I still don't understand how they have a perfect template to copy from, and yet they still get so many scenes wrong. Astrid is completely wooden and has no chemistry with Hiccup, the extended scenes are ultimately pointless, and they end up cutting some very important character moments, like this scene with Hiccup. This was a great and important scene that illustrates it's not just Toothless that they were wrong about, but all the dragons, and the remake just cuts it out. Tiny but important moments like these are missing from the remake, in exchange for slightly extended scenes that were already fine the way they were in the original. And I don't know why Dean DeBlow would exclude these. The original How to Train Your Dragon is a fantastic movie, and is on my top 10 list of best animated movies ever made. It really is a favorite of mine. This is one of those movies that is so perfect that I can put it on with the intention to watch a minute or two, and then end up watching the entire thing. It's at that level of quality to me. The relationship between Toothless and Hiccup is great, the strange relationship between him and his father is also awesome, his relationship with Astrid is very well done, the side characters fit the bill perfectly, the comedy is amazing, the dragon designs are so vast and creative, the score is phenomenal. This really is an amazing movie, and after all these years, I still can't get enough of it. It's time for the scores. The original animated How to Train Your Dragon gets a 10 out of 10, and the remake would have gotten an average 5, but after what they did to Astrid, and the ending where her and Hiccup get together felt so wrong, and it ruined the perfect ending from the original. So because of that, the movie loses an extra point and gets a below average 4 out of 10. The original How to Train Your Dragon is the far superior movie, and if you have a 3D TV or a 3D projector, then I highly recommend that you watch it in 3D. The 3D sequences in this film, even at the time, were known for being far better than the 3D in Avatar, and I have tried both, and it's true. How to Train Your Dragon has the far superior 3D, and if you still have a 3D TV or 3D projector, then I highly recommend that you watch it in 3D, as this is one of the best 3D movies available, and it really enhances the film and makes it even more enjoyable. So, this is hardly a compliment, but Dreamworks did better than Disney. But let's not make this a habit, okay oh, who am I kidding, they've already said they're gonna make more of these. Sadly, we live in a world where the remakes will keep on coming, and audiences will keep on watching. And I
will always be there, old friend.
A huge thanks to my patrons. If you like what I do, then consider supporting me on Patreon, where you'll gain access to trailer reactions, as well as gain access to my private Discord server. So with that said, share your thoughts in the comments below about the How to Train Your Dragon remake, and how you think it compares to the original movie, and also how you think it compares to Disney's live action remakes. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and click that subscribe button and the bell right next to it so you can stay up to date with all of my future Versus videos. Thank you very much as always for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate each and every single one of you. And I will catch all of you very soon. Take care.